In this video, I'm going to show you how to create this festive floral holiday card. So if you like the look of it, please keep on watching. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and to another holiday card tutorial. For this card, I'm using my Prima Watercolors Woodlands palette. It's got some really pretty reds and greens in there, so I thought it would be perfect for a holiday card tutorial. So to begin, we're going to start off by creating 3 different roses. Creating a rose is pretty simple. You start with the center of it, and using the fine tip of your brush, just start making little C-shape impressions. The center of the rose is going to be darker, so we're not going to be adding much more paint to the brush as we go. The majority of the paint is going to be concentrated in that center area. And then as we move outwards, we're adding more water. And to those more transparent watery areas, we can then drop in some more color if we feel like an area needs it. I'm going to slow down the next one so that you guys can watch more in depth. But for now, just watch how I'm moving my brush and using the tip of the brush to create little lines and different C shapes. And then also using the side or the belly of the brush to create those larger, more swooping motion leaf shapes. Sorry, petal shapes, not leaf shapes. So I'll just show you again on a lighter colored rose. So you just start by creating a few little dabs in the center. This is actually a little bit more watery than I would have liked, but you can still get the idea. And then working around that center area, you're just going to move your brush really roughly, just creating curved areas and C shapes around that center portion. As you move towards the edges of the flower, you're going to grab a little bit more water so that the paint is more diluted. And then you're just going to continue creating those petals outwards, and they're going to get bigger as you go around. And again, I like to use the very tip of my brush as well as the belly of the brush, so pushing down harder and then lifting up to get that light, thin line. And then you can let some of the petal areas touch, and then the colors will kind of blend together. And then I like to go in and just with a darker tone, I like to add in a little bit of shadow detail, again concentrating it more around the center area. And I just felt like dropping in a little bit of red as well. For the next rose, I'm going to do that in red as well, but I want it to be a little bit more of a side view. So I'm just starting out with the center again, keeping it dark. And then just with water, I'm going to spread out some of those petals. And then using the thin tip of my brush, I'm just going to add in a few little detail lines. And remember, we're going for loose florals here. So you're not going to be too concerned about making them look realistic, you just want them to be implied. So that when you look at your painting, you can tell that they're flowers. Okay, so now I've mixed up a green shade from the palette, and I'm just going to start creating some leaves. I'm just going to use the tip and the belly of my brush again and just sort of really roughly sketch on these leaf impressions. And then I'm just going to dab in a bit of a darker tone on some of the edges. With the roses a little bit more dry than they were previously, I'm going to go in with a darker tone here. I mixed the red with a little bit of black, and I'm just adding that to the center and just to give the impression of a little bit of shadow detail on the petals. And then using another green tone, I'm going to create some stems and some more leaves. I always like to vary my shades of green, so this one has a bit more yellow added to it, whereas the other ones have a bit more blue. It's just nice to add that little bit of difference. And again, you guys, all of the supplies that I use are going to be listed below. This is my number 6 pointed brush. It has a really fine tip, so it's great for doing these sort of really thin line details. So right now I'm just adding in some green sprigs or like little grasses. And I'm just going to add those wherever I feel like it needs them. And I'm going to make them slightly darker as I go. To make this a little bit more holiday-ish, I wanted to add in some berries. Those always kind of turn a piece into more holiday-themed artwork. So I'm just starting by adding in some stems that the berries are going to be attached to. These are just like really rough, thin, kind of like tree branches. And then with that red shade, I'm just gonna do round little berries. So I'm just attaching them to the ends of those little branches that I made. And then I felt like this lighter rose needed a little more definition, so I'm just going in again with that same color, and I'm just adding a little bit of darkness to some of the petals. And then I felt like adding a little something to this side, so I wanted to do a little flower bud here. So I'm just going to do that and then continue adding in a little bit more greenery. And then I'm going to balance out the berries a little bit more and add this little branch down here, and I'll add a couple berries onto that as well. So right now I'm just seeing where else I can add some greenery, and I'm keeping some of the leaves that I do a little bit more transparent so that they overlay nicely over the ones that I've already done. So I'm just gonna keep layering and adding in more elements as I go. I probably could have stopped a while ago, but I just felt like continuing, making this a little bit longer, a little bit more detailed. So again, I'm just layering some leaves on top of previously dried leaves. And then with a darker shade, I'm just going in and adding a little bit of detail to some of those leaves, like the center spine area. And then some line detail to the roses as well. So I'm just going in with some line detail, and then I'm going to use a wet brush with no paint on it just to kind of blend out those lines that I made. And then I'll go around the entire painting once it's dry and just add in a little bit more detail to some areas that I felt needed it. So with everything totally dry, I'm gonna use my white gel pen and I'm just gonna add a little bit of highlights to these berries. And then just a touch of highlights to some of the other elements as well. And then we're done. I hope that you guys liked this Christmas tutorial. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. It really helps me out. Check out my other holiday card tutorials, and I hope to see you in the next one.